We picked up soft Mozart December of 2011. Bought it for my daycare. I have a small academic daycare in which I have mostly toddlers. At the time, I had a 17-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And we decided to try soft Mozart for a year and just see what happened. I found it because I was part of an early learning group and it was advertised there. So several of us got together and we decided that we were going to just start this learning journey together. I had because I have no musical background, I had no expectations of what would happen. I thought it was going to be pretty hard to teach toddlers. I was under
Oh,
no
come on.
I had no high hopes for what would actually happen. Teaching little kids to play piano, teaching little kids to read is hard. And then throw in having their fingers move with their eyes. I just assumed this was going to be fairly difficult. So if they made a little progress, I was going to be happy. I was pleasantly surprised when we received the package in the mail.
Oh, Spider got it.
All
Poor Mr.
of
Oops.
the notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, are tied to images of things, concrete things in their real life. Do, door, re, rain, mi, mirror. Very similar to the way they were already learning to read. A, apple, B, ball, C, cat. So these references to things in real life, abstract symbols.
Yeah.
So abstract symbols
Yeah.
being translated into things in real life was not something they were unused to.
What's
And
this one?
all of the kids, even the 17-month-old, by the time we had received soft Mozart, knew all of their
So-
letters and all of the sounds that go with those letters.
Me.
And then the other thing that soft Mozart does really well
Ray.
is that it breaks
No, what's that?
everything down
No.
so that child doesn't have all kinds of information to pay attention to. The first thing we're going to learn is the note alphabet, the music alphabet. Once we have the music alphabet down, we're going to match those notes that we see on a screen to the notes that are to the stickers that are on the piano. So it really is hunting and pecking at first. But that's all they have to do. And for any child who starts any piano lessons, that's exactly what you're doing. You're looking at these lines and spaces and dots, and you're trying to remember where those lines and dots are, and then you're trying to find out again or figure out again where those lines and dots meet up on a piano key. And for a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, that's almost impossible, especially if you have Down syndrome. So for what soft Mozart has done that made it so easy for all of the kids is to take those images that you see, put them on stickers on the keyboard, and they're matching, and they're learning to sing the notes as they play them. So they're learning to sing in tune. They're learning solfege. They're learning how to sing the songs in solfege while they play. But the other information, all of the lines and spaces, they don't have to know that yet. First we're going to match. And then as we move along, we add more and more information once we've mastered the previous information. Very similar to the way a child learns to read. So first we give them A, B, C, and then we teach them the sounds, and then we put those sounds together in words. And we just call this phonics. And that's exactly what soft Mozart has done for learning to play piano. Children learn to play piano very similar to the way they learn to read. And no other method was going to be accessible to the children the way soft Mozart is. Sure, Kayla could probably learn to play. She can learn to play piano with Down syndrome. That's not going to be hard. There are challenges, but it wouldn't have been accessible to her and for at least 5 years from the time she was 3, maybe 7 if she was really had a really good concentration. So at 3, to be able to present the information to her and have her play, and to learn over the course of a year how to read music and read it well, on a staff, she can now place all of the notes in order from middle C to high D on the treble clef. She can do it consistently with very few mistakes. She doesn't, and in the meantime, while she's learning to read music, the hardest part about playing piano would be reading music.
That's pretty
I
good.
think.
That's a nice looking line so far.
She's playing with one finger, and once we have the hard part mastered, she's now able to switch to using all of her fingers on both hands. She's 4. And as we make progress, she will be able to play with both hands together. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. For my 2-year-old, who's been a little harder to teach, I think the process is really the same. It's broken down. It's not any different for him. It's just he has ability to read music much earlier.
But in the line,
the ability to give Kayla with Down syndrome the gift of music. It's not enough for her to listen to music or appreciate music or go to kinder music classes. And that's fine and good by itself, but it is not enough for her. She loves music. It's what moves her. And she begs to play. She begs to play piano, and because of the work that we've done in Soft Mozart, she's able to take Suzuki lessons as well, violin. And that wouldn't have been, if we hadn't done the work in Soft Mozart first, violin would have been way too hard for her to tackle. But now that she's had a chance to not only play music but read music, she's comfortable with the notes. This is nothing new for her. It's just a different instrument. Her confidence is pretty high. The hardest part about violin is actually making her fingers, the same problem she's having in piano, is making her fingers do what her brain knows it needs to do. When you have somebody with special needs like Kayla, the challenges that they're going to face the rest of their lives in mental processing, they're huge. And I am convinced, absolutely convinced, that Kayla's ability to read, she's 4, and her ability to pick up words, her ability to understand math, to focus, all of these things are because she spent so much time with Soft Mozart for the last year. It's changed, I think, for her. We're laying a foundation that will make a difference for her for the rest of her life.
You're still missing one.
And I don't say that lightly. She begs for music. She begs to play. She begs to play violin. And I think this is something that's probably in all of us, but for her it's more pronounced because she can't express herself in words the way other children can. Her words are limited, but she can play music. And it is not just that she likes, it's not just enough for her to like music. She has to be able to make it on her own. And if we wait, somebody asked me why am I pushing her so hard? Why do I push all of the kids so hard as far as music goes? I don't think any of them are being pushed. None of them cry. None of them whine. All of them want to play. We are now at the point where we're fighting over the keyboard, and you have children screaming, "My turn," and when one child is playing, the other one is pointing to a screen and giving them the answers. And telling them which notes to play. These are not children who are being forced into music or forced into learning. And we give children information like, this is a cow, this is your nose, this is your mommy, this is your daddy. And yet we refuse to give them, or not refuse, I think that's a bad word. We don't consider giving them the information that this sound that you hear, that has a name. And this sound that you hear over here, it also has a name. And you can take those sounds and put them together, and you can make music. And I'm not sure why we think that the nose and the mommy and the this is a dog and what does a dog say is more important information or easier information to learn than the sound that you heard. It also has a name, and it says something. And studies have shown that the sooner children get into music lessons, that the higher their IQs are, they have better reasoning abilities, they have better cognitive abilities, they have they understand spatial relationships better, and the sooner they do it. So children at 3 are going to be better off than a child who takes lessons at 3 is going to be better off than a child who takes lessons at 5. Or starts at 5. There's a period of time from birth to 5 that the brain is just growing and changing and making connections. And of course, the brain is plastic, so we can always make the connections, but it's not ever going to be the same as if you had started a child when they were 18 months old, learning the sounds. I mean, for all of the kids in my daycare now, this is just another language that they all speak, and they're in the car and they can sing solfege. They sit around and play together and sing the notes, and they can. I have one little girl who will go to the keyboard, and she will sing a note, la 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 la, and then she will press the keys on the keyboard until she finds the corresponding key to the sound that she's making with her mouth, and then she will look down at the key, and she is 23 months old, and she will look down at the key, and she will then say do or re or mi, because she can see on the key the keys have pictures, and she knows what those pictures mean. It is not something, when you start this at 20 months old or 18 months old, this is not something you learn. It's just something, it is like the language that you speak. It's like acquiring words. It's just something you know. We don't teach children how to walk. We don't give them formal lessons on walking. We don't give them formal lessons on how to babble. We don't give them formal lessons on crawling. We just assume that a child is going to, given the proper environment, is going to learn to crawl. We assume they are going to learn to talk. We assume that they will eventually learn to walk. And I think, given the proper environment, with the proper tools, a child will just learn the language of music without having somebody stand over you and dictate or didactically teach it to you. As a daycare provider, I'm trying to think of what better services I could offer my clients than giving children the gift of music. I think in the last year, because of the work I've done with Soft Mozart, and the research I've done, especially the linking of math and music and language, that we have pretty much pared down our curriculum to 3 things, and all of those are languages. We learn to read in our native language. All of the children learn to read, and they're all fluently reading by the time they're 4. So there is that. So it's acquiring the ability to speak and to read our native language. The other one is math. It is the language of numbers. And the last one is music. And they are all languages. Science can be learned quickly. History can be learned quickly later on. But these 3 things, math, music, and reading, are foundational to the rest of your life. And I think as teaching math is pretty easy for me. We have some pretty good programs, and it's mostly playing with numbers. We don't do it through didactically teaching either. We play games with numbers, and the same thing with the reading. I don't think teaching a child to read is actually very hard. I was not sure about music or how to do it, and there's nothing as simple. It's more simple, actually, to teach a child using Soft Mozart. It's more simple to teach a child it's more simple to teach a child the language of music than it is to teach a child to read. It's easier to teach a child to play piano than it is to teach a child to add and subtract. And why? I can't imagine why. As a daycare provider, I wouldn't be offering this to my clients. It doesn't take any time. I mean, it doesn't take that much time. if the children spend 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes maybe each child on the computer or at the keyboard. Some of that time is actually spent learning. Some of that time is just pressing notes and hearing sounds and learning where the keys are on the keyboard, and that's just exploration on their time. And then a group time of maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. So for my small daycare, getting music done takes all of us maybe 35, 40 minutes. And for the older kids, the older they get, especially Kayla, now that she's 4, and she can find the keys on the keyboard, the computer keyboard herself, she is able to practice on her own. I can be in a different room, off with the other kids doing something, and at 4 years old with Down syndrome, she can manage her own teaching schedule. And I think that's huge. I think that gives her independence. It gives her the ability to teach her to be self-teaching, that she's not always dependent on a teacher. And I think that's probably really important for all of the children. I think as a parent, I don't want my children always dependent on a teacher for information. So the more my kids can manage their own education, whether that be a music education or math or whatever the subject is, the more we can give children the tools to self-teach, the better off they are. I once heard a lecture about naming things and our inability, especially in America, our inability to name basic things. We can't name the trees that we see. We can't name the animals that we see. We can't, when we go outside, we cannot name the birds that we hear. Many of us can't even make distinctions in bird calls. And our inability to name the world around us leaves us impoverished in our souls. And I think the same applies to music. Because I have no official music training. I played an instrument when I was a kid for a couple of years, and I didn't practice, and I was really bad. And because I can't carry a tune, because I've not been trained there either, I didn't realize until I had little kids and I started teaching them how void it is for me as a parent or as a daycare provider to not even be able to play basic nursery rhymes for the kids. I'm stuck having to play CDs or MP3 files off the computer. I cannot go to the keyboard and just play tunes. Well, that's changing because I'm learning. But I cannot go outside and hear a bird call and then repeat it on a piano. I can't. The tunes that I hear in my head, I can't then translate to the keyboard. And I think there's something terrible about that. I think there's something in my life that I've missed. And it's important to me that the kids that I meet up with, the children that come through my life, are not similarly impoverished. It's important to me that all the kids, including the children I have with developmental disabilities, have the opportunity to become musically literate.